A very good evening. My name is Beatrice Njeri. Our sign language interpreter is Paul Mathenge, and this is GBS News at 9 coming to you live from Kenya's capital, Nairobi. Stay tuned as we bring you the latest updates on the Korea-Africa Summit. All this and more coming up, but first, here are the highlights.
Korea's highly developed capacity in renewable energy and sustainable technology is a vital complement of Africa's ambition to unlock its abundant resource potential.
President Ruto highlights Africa's potential, seeks Korean investment in his inaugural address to Korea-Africa Summit. Has BBI recommendation smuggled into Kenya Kwanza government? All happenings, we pinpoint the fact and we tell you how. Nowhere to run. Police recapture a fugitive who had previously escaped from police custody in Kirinyaga. Starlets gear up for the fourth and final round of the 2024 FIFA Under-17 World Cup two-legged qualifier against Burundi. To begin our bulletin, President William Ruto addressed the inaugural Korea-Africa Summit on Tuesday, emphasizing the crucial role Korea can play in Africa's transformation. He stated that Africa is eager to cultivate strong partnerships with Korean investors to harness its vast potential, turning it into opportunities and investments that will generate jobs and drive economic growth. Here are the details. President William Ruto on Tuesday addressed the inaugural Korea-Africa Summit and underscored the critical role Korea can play in the transformation of Africa. The president said Africa is keen on exploring robust partnerships with Korean investors to turn Africa's enormous potential into opportunity and investment that will create jobs and foster economic growth.
Therefore, it is important that this summit will point the way to the future for initiatives like the K-Rise Korea program, of which Kenya is an active participant, to be extended across Africa. Such programs are not just about enhancing production, but are also about building capacity and transferring technology to promote sustainability and resilience, especially in the light of escalating threat of global climate change.
The president commended Korea's commitment to aligning its strategic policies with the African Union's Agenda 2063 and further noted that the Korea-Africa Forum and the Korea-Africa Economic Cooperation have facilitated progressive diplomatic and economic engagements that had helped accelerate the growth of trade and investment.
Korea's highly developed capacity in renewable energy and sustainable technology is a vital complement of Africa's ambition to unlock its abundant resource potential, both through the continent's incomparable green energy potential as well as the manufacturing and industrial processing of other plentiful resources by means of environmental sustainable practices.
The summit, whose theme is the future we make together, shared growth, sustainability and solidarity, was hosted by President Yoon Suk Yeol at the Korea International Exhibition Center in Goyang. As for the delegates, President Ruto attended the summit in his capacity as the chairperson of the Committee of the African Heads of State and the Government on Climate Change and the African Union Champion for Institutional Reform. Prime Cabinet Secretary and Foreign and Diaspora Affairs Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has said that the oversight function of Parliament plays a big role as the cornerstone of democracy. Mudavadi said the oversight provides the means to hold the country's executive accountable for all its actions, as well as ensuring alignment with legislated businesses and the aspirations of the people of Kenya. The Prime Cabinet Secretary was speaking at the retreat of the Senate Liaison Committee Committee on Tuesday and insisted that the oversight by Parliament is also a testament of good governance in Kenya. On December 9, 2022, President Ruto wrote to Parliament to consider implementing mechanisms within the standing orders to facilitate the participation of cabinet secretaries in parliamentary proceedings, particularly by responding to questions raised by senators. Parliament made the amendments to the standing orders, and cabinet secretaries have been appearing before the Senate to answer to questions raised by legislators.
To this session, this is
The retreat also seeks to enhance intergovernmental relations between the Senate and institutions that are critical to the success of devolution, in order to strengthen and build linkages between the committees of the Senate and these institutions as each discharges their respective mandates.
Your Excellency, this county, in terms of devolution, we want to say we have seen the difference devolution has made in service delivery, and we all do support the programs that are being run through enabling legislation in the Senate, so that our counties can be able to do their work.
Following the devolution in 2013, lives of Kenyans have been transformed through numerous progress and development projects initiated by county governments and increased employment opportunities. Recently, the committee members of the Finance and National Planning in the National Assembly proposed 391.117 billion shillings, whereas the Senate proposed 415.952 billion shillings to the county governments. I want to congratulate our mediation committee from the Senate.
I remember in this session, we had a discussion with the Speaker of the Senate, and the issue was about the reports that come from the control of budget. And we felt that actually we need almost monthly reports if it will be possible. We want to do very disciplined oversight, not witch hunt. So with the information, you can be able to tell your governor, this is the position, as at this month. You know, if you want to craft for me, just do it nicely. Yes.
The rains that came through have caused massive damage in different parts of the country. And therefore, what was primarily forecast as through the budgetary process of the various county governments is likely to be seriously disrupted. So I think it is important that I flag that area so that the Senate can play a critical role in conjunction with the county governments so that we can realign some of the resources effectively to mitigate on the damage that has been caused. You are all aware, if we were to talk about your regions, everybody has a story to tell, whether it is roads, whether it is schools, whether it is the rail system, whether it is water supplies. A lot of damage has been caused across the board. So I think that is an area that may require some special attention.
The Building Bridges initiative was rejected by the Supreme Court 3 years ago after it received strong opposition from the then Deputy President and now Kenya's President William Ruto on the basis that it did not cater to the common Kenyan, but instead focused on creating positions for a few people in whom he termed as the elite. 3 years down the line, the same BBI, which the chief campaigner who opposed it is now implementing. What has transpired within? Davis Karani now reports.
Launching the BBI.
It was a document that was launched after the agreement between the Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta and the longest-serving opposition leader, Raila Odinga.
Starting today, we will begin a process of bringing our people together.
The BBI document was formulated to sort out the 9 points that included inclusivity, corruption, devolution, safety and security, among others. The document also had a section that contained the state positions and their mandates, which included the executive president, who was given the power to appoint a prime minister in the majority party from the National Assembly, appoint the principal assistant secretary, and appoint a minister of the state, which the then deputy president William Ruto was fully opposed to it.
Eti mpango wao ni kubadilisha katiba, kuongeza vyeo ya viongozi, kuongeza mamlaka ya viongozi. Mimi nauliza nyinyi watu wa Lodwar, mnataka kwanza eti tubadilishe katiba tuongeze vyeo na mamlaka ya viongozi, ama tungebadilisha uchumi kwanza tupange ajira ya hawa vijana?
But immediately after being elected into the office, the president makes further appointments, contrary to the narrative that he created about the BBI creating jobs for a few people, which are not in the Kenyan constitution but were reserved in the BBI report.
We have again the other very important position, and that is the position of the Prime Cabinet Secretary. And I have appointed my brother, Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi.
The president also frontiered the creation of the official opposition office, in which its implementation lies at the court's decision after a group of human rights activists went to court and blocked it from implementation by the government. By several implementations of the BBI report by Ruto's administration, then we pose a question: was the BBI document a good report for Kenya, which President Ruto gave it a bad name for his good path in politics? Davis Karani, GBS News, Nairobi.
In a bid to curb the rampant fake land buying schemes that have left many Kenyans destitute, Kirinyaga Central Member of Parliament Gashoki Gitari has introduced a legislative initiative to regulate land dealing entities. Gitari appeared today before the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Lands to defend his proposal, dubbed the Land Amendment Bill 2024, which seeks to amend the Land Act 2012 to provide the registration, licensing and regulation of land dealing entities. Here is more on the same.
Clause 14 has 3 sub-clauses.
The Kirinyaga Central Member of Parliament Gashoki Gitari has initiated a legislative initiative aimed at weeding out fake land buying companies in Kenya, appearing before the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Lands to defend his legislative proposal, dubbed the Land Amendment Bill of 2024. Gitari said there was a need to enhance the existing legal mechanisms to rescue Kenyans from unscrupulous conmen and middlemen involved in fake land dealings, and whose operations have left many families destitute and thousands of hardworking Kenyans in misery as culprits go scot-free.
Singling out a county like Kiambu, we have of about more than 500 cases with DCI of fraudulent land buying companies. So the import of this was to try to tame them and register and license them.
So I welcome this proposal of amendments from Honorable Gidare, because not only being a member of this committee, but also a professional in the same field.
The principal object of the legislative proposal is to amend the Land Act of 2012 to provide for the registration, licensing and regulation of the land dealing entities in order to protect the interests of persons buying land from such companies.
Its aim is to ensure that all the entities dealing in land are regulated and set a minimum licensing fees for registration and land dealing entities, and impose penalties for non-compliance.
It's something that we should be proud of we should be proud of it, all of us, because many of us have been affected, actually. They've been affected, and there are so many Kenyans. Like even these constructions of riparian land, you might find that guys have been conned, and that's why they find themselves there.
The proposed bill comes at a time when the country has witnessed a surge in cases of land fraud, with many Kenyans falling victims of unscrupulous individuals and companies, promising land ownership but ultimately leaving them without legal title or access to property they paid for. If passed into law, the amendment of the Land Act of 2012 will provide a much-needed legal framework to curb the activities of fake land buying companies and ensure that Kenyans can invest in land with confidence, knowing that their rights and interests are protected by the law. Hilary Kabila, GBS News.
Many thanks for joining this live broadcast. We have a lot lined up for you in our news segment tonight. But first, let us take a quick break. We'll be right back with even more.
So through the 4 gospel books, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, John, we can know the heart of Jesus in depth.
그리고 우리가 느끼는 그 예수님을 성경을 통해 느낄 수 있어서 너무 감사합니다.
And the Jesus that we can feel him through the scriptures, and I'm very thankful about that. Jesus Christ came to this earth for our
죄를
sins.
지셨고
He carried our sins.
십자가에 못 박혀 주고 죄의 형벌을 당하셨고
And he was crucified, and he received the punishment for sins.
무덤에 들어가셨다가
And he was put into the tomb.
사흘 만에 부활하셨습니다.
And resurrected in 3 days.
이것이 우리가 말하는 복음입니다.
This is the gospel that we speak.
예수님께 우리 죄를 위해 죽으신 이야기.
About how Jesus died for our sins. The purpose of Jesus being crucified.
우리 죄를 담당하기 위하여 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으셨습니다.
He was crucified to pay for our sins.
예수 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으심으로 우리 죄가 분명히 씻어졌는데
And through Jesus being crucified, clearly our sins have been washed clean.
참 안타깝게도 많은 사람은 여전히 죄인이라고 말합니다.
However, unfortunately, many people still say that they are sinners.
And remember, the topic of the day is embracing one's role as a single man.
Ile ingine ni kutengwa na watu. Watu wengi ukiona single mother akiongea na bwanako, mengi zao zinakuanga tu bwana kuimbia.
Kuna any organization inaweza kuwa at least hata ile msupport ama ni wewe tumengangana kivyako akaingia hivyo.
Facial creams wenye wanatumianga. But before unjuane na hao wamama haki na kuanga ngumu. Unapatanga huyo mtoto already amechange hiyo kara, juu hafai kukaa kwa njua.
Kuna hiyo organization inakuanga na plans za kuongelesha watoto. Ndio in future wanajiaccept. By the time wana realize they are not different. They are different.
I think akili yangu ilikuja kuona kabisa niko peke yangu. Ni penye saa unapigia ndio mambeste kuna mtu anakuchukulia simu. Na mimi nilikuanga na mambeste wengi. Mimi niliachiwa tu mmoja. Anaitwa Shkosheila. Akiona hii video, thank you so much mama.
Thank you Shiko.
Akukosangi enjoy.
Alisimama na mimi.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back. You're still watching GBS News 9. Coast Region governors under the Jumuiya ya Counties of Pwani Economic Bloc on Monday turned down Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mithika Linturi's call for a meeting to resolve the Mogoka ban. In a joint letter dated 2nd of June, Mombasa, Kilifi, Kwale, Tana River, Lamu, and Taita Taveta governors declined Linturi's request, claiming the Cabinet Secretary would not be a neutral arbitrator on the contentious issue. Susan Ganga with the details.
6 governors from coast counties have declined to meet Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mithika Linturi to discuss the Mogoka ban. President William Ruto ordered Linturi to convene a meeting with stakeholders and address concerns raised on the sale and use of the addictive stimulant, which coast governors have banned. The meeting between the stakeholders and Linturi was scheduled for June 6, 2024. The joint release dispatched Monday evening was signed by all 6 governors. They are Mombasa Abdul Samad Nasir, Kilifi's Gideon Mungaro, Fatuma Achani for Kwale, Dado Godana for Tana River, Isa Timami Lamu, and Taita Taveta's Andrew Mwadime. In his meeting with Embu leaders on May 27, Ruto dismissed the ban of the plant by the coast counties, saying Mogoka is a scheduled crop in accordance with the Crops Act of 2013 and the Mirror Regulations 2023. A day later, Ruto revealed that he held a phone conversation with Nasir Mungaro and Mwadime, who all agreed to attend the stakeholder meeting. However, the coast governors accused the Ministry of Agriculture of protecting the social economics of Mogoka producing counties. The governors want the president to instead lead any further consultations on the ban. They pointed out that Ruto held meetings with the leadership of Mogoka producing counties and the Central Kenya leadership prior to issuing the directive at State House. The governors want key stakeholders including NACADA, the Ministry of Health and the various security agencies, as well as the civil society, to be party to the consultations. Susan Nganga, GBS News.
Moving on, the Council of Governors is raising the red flag of a fresh plot to return to the health function to the national government through a calculated smear campaign painting the devolved units as inept. Consequently, the COG is accusing the national government of denying them their equitable share, now crossing to Kenyan shillings 100 billion mark a few days to the end of the 2023-2024 financial year. As it stands now, counties have not received their equitable share from the national government for 3 months, including June. Yet, the IFMIS system reportedly slows down from mid-June. Responding to a series of questions from journalists as a follow-up to a sustained media campaign on counties' non-remittance of debts to the country's Medicine Supplies Authority, KEMSA, COG Health Committee Chairperson and Tharaka Nithi Governor Muthomi Njuki questioned the motive behind the push. Yet it is the national government that has not released the resources to counties. According to Governor Njuki, the messaging around the debt owed by counties to KEMSA had the hallmarks of a well-thought-out and executed scheme keen on painting counties in bad blood.
Governors, because I chair the health committee, to clarify some issues that have been very alive in the media for the last 3 days. For the last 3 days, we have seen a deliberate attempt by KEMSA, the national government and their proponents to try and paint the counties as having been unable to meet their debt obligation as far as drug supply are concerned in KEMSA. Allow me to state the following facts. For one, the counties usually pay their debts to KEMSA depending on the age of the debt. And it's also important to note that there is no county that usually buys from KEMSA upfront. It's always a debt, and therefore there's nothing wrong with having a debt. The problem is when the debt accumulates beyond the 90 days. On the issue of the debts that have accumulated beyond the 90 days, allow me to state the following. One, the national government through Treasury owes the 47 counties a total of just above 100 billion up to the end of the financial year, which is just a few days to the end of the financial year. And therefore, most of the counties have paid their salaries. They have met their basic obligations in the counties, including the daily utility bills. The biggest problem is debts owed to suppliers, which have not been met because of the fact that the Treasury owes the counties 3 months worth of disbursement. If the Treasury was giving counties their money as is stated in the law on the 15th of every month, I can assure you that there is no county that will be having any debt to KEMSA by the end of each month. And therefore, I urge the Treasury to release the funds for the counties, all that is owed to them, and I would ask the KEMSA to check their accounts at the end of the month when that money has been released. I think It is also important for me to note that we believe as Council of Governors is more than what meets the eye. There is a possibility that we are trying to propagate this narrative that the Council of Governors or the counties have been unable to manage.
And now to matters international news. Despite ongoing unrest and attacks by armed groups in Haiti, the World Food Programme is intensifying its operations in Port-au-Prince to assist communities affected by violence. In May, WFP successfully delivered aid to over 93,000 people in Cité Soleil on the most vulnerable and insecure neighborhoods in the capital. WFP calls on world leaders to prioritize humanitarian assistance alongside security measures, stressing that long-term investments are needed to address the structural root causes of hunger and malnutrition. With a funding gap of $76.7 million through November, immediate and sustained support is also essential to prevent a worsening crisis.
The roads in and out of Port-au-Prince are controlled by armed groups. The port has been closed for a long time and was looted, and the airport was closed. So effectively, Port-au-Prince for the past few months has been an island. So it's really important for WFP and other humanitarians to be able to bring supplies into the city to run essential programs. So the essential services that people rely on, be it healthcare, water and sanitation, food, they require the free movement of goods and people, and right now we just haven't had that. So what we're doing with this flight is reopening that door and ensuring that vital supplies come in to allow these essential services to function.
Official results from the recent election were confirmed on Sunday, indicating that no single party had won a majority, ushering in an unprecedented era of coalition talks. With a voter turnout of 58.6%, the African National Congress secured just over 40% of the vote, winning 159 out of the 400 seats in parliament, marking a significant drop from the 230 seats they held in the previous election. The pressure is on the coalition talks to advance swiftly as South Africa now faces a pivotal moment as it transitions into a new era of coalition governance. Here is more on this theme.
South Africa is poised for a new political landscape as coalition talks loom large. With no single party securing a majority, the stage is set for unprecedented negotiations. Official results from the recent election confirmed on Sunday reveal a significant shift in parliamentary dynamics, with the African National Congress securing just over 40% of the vote, marking a departure from its previous dominance.
Whether we like it or not, they have spoken. As the leaders of political parties, as all those who occupied or occupy positions of responsibility in society, we have heard the voices of our people, and we must respect their choices and their wishes.
The Democratic Alliance also saw a slight increase in its seats, adding to the complexity of coalition possibilities. Political analyst Professor Patrick Bond underscores the critical juncture faced by both major parties.
Crunch point for both ANC and the Democratic Alliance. Will it be to both of their advantage to combine with a solid 62% of the vote? Or would the ANC rather just scrape by at above 50 with a combination of small parties, possibly one of them, the fourth party, the Economic Freedom Fighters, or even reaching out to Jacob Zuma and saying, come back and we'll give you deputy president and your honor will be restored.
Indeed, the pressure is mounting as President Cyril Ramaphosa calls for unity among political parties to navigate this uncharted territory. With the clock ticking on coalition negotiations, all eyes are on South Africa as it embraces a new era of governance. Alex Mwangi, GBS News.
Do keep your comments coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Today on the show, we are talking about nurturing their emotional intelligence in children.
The parents of this generation, they are very busy. Whereby we have left the gadgets to be in charge and the house managers.
Especially when you're thinking about yourself, there are 3 levels of thoughts. There is the first level, there is the second level of thought, and there is also the third level of thought.
What is nurturing a child in the emotional intelligence way?
A lot of focus has been put on the intelligence.
And when we talk about desire and self-control, desire is something that is in our hearts. But self-control does not come from within us.
And at what age are we supposed now to start molding our children and correcting whenever they're doing wrong?
Hello everyone! Welcome to Fun Story Class. Friends, today I'm going to read the story of the ant and the grasshopper. Friends, this is a very interesting story, so listen carefully. The ant and grasshopper were good friends. The grasshopper was enjoying the fine weather, playing all day. He asked the ant for food, and ant gave him some. But my food is just enough for my family to last until the end of winter. If I give you more, we too will starve.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back to the broadcast. 2 suspects who had previously escaped from police custody in Kirinyaga on Friday, 31st of May, were successfully recaptured and brought to justice. The 2 individuals, one of whom is a suspect in a murder case from Uganda, managed to flee from their cell under undisclosed circumstances. Swift action by the police led to their recapture, with the Ugandan suspect being apprehended in Nakuru. This individual, described as a dangerous criminal, will face court proceedings imminently. DCIO Jason Moria, speaking on the matter, emphasized the importance of proper documentation for foreign nationals working in Kenya. He urged employers to ensure they have full details, including names and identity card information, to prevent false identities and other security risks. Many individuals lie about their names and provide false information, Officer Moria stated. And I quote, "We need accurate data to ensure safety and security." Police officers from Kiamashiri Station, where the fugitive escaped, had come to recapture the 2 suspects, but angered residents denied them until a DCI officer from Kerugoya came and took off the suspect.
Jana wako nyumbani watia masere wameshindwa na askari wa Marura. Hiyo hata wakitaka kupatia vijana ikuwe center ya vijana wanafunzwa huko, hakuna police station iko hapo. Kwa hivyo wacha waende nyumbani, waende wakapumzike. Na tunashukrani sana na vijana wa Amarura ambao tumelala nao nje siku 2 wakitusaidia. Askari wa Kiamasere wamekuja tukawafukuza. Tumesema hatuwezi kuwatolea mtu Uganda, tuwaletee, waachilie, tuwashikie tena tuwapatie. Hiyo tumekataa, tumepeleka Kirogoya.
Na mimi nilipata mtu alikuwa anauliza kazi, nikampea kazi, alafu mwishoe nikagundua huyo mtu ni mkora, ndio alitenda ile kitendo ya mauaji pale Komboini. Sasa mimi nimestuka sana, ni vile nimeona akifanya. Nikajiuliza kwa nini kunaenda hivi Kenya yetu, kunasikia mtu alikuwa polisi na ameshikwa ni polisi na mwisho amewachiliwa, anakuja huko kwa wananchi.
Sasa tuambie, ulimuuliza kitambulisho?
Mimi nilimuuliza ID yake iko wapi. Sasa yeye wakati nilimuuliza ID, akaniambia ana ID yake inakuja mwezi wa 7. Akaniambia baba yake atatuma ID. Wakati aliniambia tatuma ID, nikamwambia nitangojea baba yake apate simu ambayo inaweza tuma ID.
Ulimpatia chakula na hali yake alikuwa mtu aina gani ukimwangalia?
Yeye alikuwa mtu anaongea na watu, alikuwa mtu socio na watu. Yaani hata huku unaweza dhani yule mtu anaweza kuwa mtu mbaya kwa sababu yeye ukimwona anaongea. Na alikuwa mtu mrefu na ni jamaa mdogo tu miaka kutoka, anaonekana ni kama lika miaka 25, 23 hapo 25.
La kasi nikaona hakuna mtu anakunja, nikaamuka nikaenda pale nilimpeleka nikakutana na yeye. Mimi sikuongea na yeye, nikamuacha. Mimi nikaenda tukaongea na mama mwenye mboma, kisha nikatoka hapo nikateremka Marura. Nilikuta hawa watu wanasema ni mama yao aliuawa. Nikaona picha, nikaona ni yeye. Sasa nikawaambia juu polisi hawakuwa karibu, nipatiwe kamjes, tuende niwapeleke tumshike.
Mtu alikuwa aina gani
kuachilia. Sasa hii mtu tumekuwa tukimtafuta usiku na mchana mpaka siku ya leo tumeambiwa mahali yako na tumeenda tumemtoa huko. Wakati tumemtoa hawa bwana mlio amesiko na hawa vijana wote. Hata tulikuwa tunataka kumuua, askari wakakataa wakiamasiri. Walikuwa wanasema tumpe huyo mtu, sisi tukasema hapana. Wakamwachilie tena. Sasa tumeita ndisi ya Kirugwea ndio amekuja akabeba huyo mtu na ameenda na yeye. Tukasema tutafuatilia mpaka Kirugwea. Lakini watu wa askari wa Kirugwea hao wako sawa. Lakini kiamasiri hiyo afadhali hiyo ibomolewe, iwe polytechnic lakini sio police station. Kama ijengwa base ya Mira.
Kwamba Jumaa iliyopita kulikuwa na washukiwa wawili, mmoja alikuwa ni mshukiwa mauaji na alikuwa ametoka Uganda na aliweza kufanya ujanja yake pale kwa sedi na akatoroka wakiwa wawili, na polisi wamefanya kazi ya ziada na hao watu wote wawili wamekamatwa na watapelekwa kotini kujibu ile mashtaka ya kutoroka kutoka kwa seli ya polisi ama rough custody na ile makosa ingine ilikuwa ya awali ya kuua. Kitu ningependa kuambia wananchi wote wa Kenya yote, tuko na watu wengi sana kwa sababu ya East Africa Protocol. Wako na ruhusa, watu wa Uganda, watu wa Burundi, watu wa Kongo wako na haki kuja Kenya na kufanya kazi. Na ningependa kuambia watu, ule mtu unaajiri, kama ni wa kutoka Burundi, kama ni wa kutoka Uganda, uchukue majina yake kamili, kitambulisho yake, ama kama hako na passport uwe uko naye, na ujaribu kujua kama unaweza kujua background yake, kwa sababu wengi wako na majina fake. Ukienda kumtafuta huyo mtu, hata ukienda kwa simu yake unaona ukimtumia pesa inatoa jina tofauti. Kwa hivyo naomba hata kama wako na cheap labor, mujaribu ujue huyo mtu ni nani umeandika na ni nani amekuletea, so that ukitokea kitu kama hiyo tunaweza enda nyuma na tupate huyo mtu.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov arrived in Guinea on Monday on the first leg of a three-country African tour aimed at boosting support for Moscow. Lavrov is expected to continue his tour in Chad and Burkina Faso, according to Russian state media reports. A trip coming as Moscow looks to bolster support from countries on the continent amidst Russian isolation on the world stage. Here are the details.
The trip comes as Moscow looks to bolster support from the countries on the continent amid its Russian isolation on the world stage. After its invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, Russia saw its relations with the West plummet. In July last year, Russian President Vladimir Putin hosted several African heads of government at the second Russian-African summit in St. Petersburg. During the summit, Russia made the promises focused on delivering grain to a number of African countries, while also declaration and intervention to strengthen economic and security cooperation between Moscow and the continent. Russia's main economic interests in Africa have centered on its grain, arms, extractives, and nuclear power exports. More than 70% of all Russian trade with Africa in 2021 was carried out in just 4 countries: Egypt, Algeria, Morocco, and South Africa. Sylvia Makori, GBS News.
Spain's foreign minister on Monday outlined his country's full support of a proposed ceasefire in Gaza Strip, detailed by United States. President Joe Biden on Friday detailed a three-phase deal proposed by Israel to Hamas militants that he stated would lead to the release of the remaining hostages in Gaza and end the war grinding nearly 8-month-old. Albers called for the immediate release of hostages held by Hamas, as well as the opening of aid routes into Gaza. Here is more on the scene.
Albers called for the immediate release of hostages held by Hamas, as well as opening of aid routes into Gaza. Egyptian Foreign Minister Samah Shukri said the Israeli military presence in the Gaza Strip was not welcome by his country and the vast majority of members of the international community.
The Israeli military presence in Gaza is certainly not only rejected by Egypt, but also by the vast majority of members of the international community. And on the link between that presence and the Rafah crossing, there is a clear Egyptian position and policy in rejecting the Israeli presence at the Rafah crossing. The Rafah crossing is the only point of contact between the Palestinians and the rest of the world.
Egyptian Foreign Ministry has condemned the seizure of the Rafah crossing, describing in remarks last month as a dangerous escalation. Separately, Albers gave warm congratulations to Claudia Sheinbaum, who will be in Mexico's first female leader in the nation more than 200 years of independence. Paris Kego, GBS News.
China is closely monitoring the progress of Zambia's debt restructuring negotiations and has expressed its ongoing commitment to support Zambia through these challenging times. This statement came from Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning during a regular press conference in Beijing. Speaking at the press conference, Mao Ning emphasized China's crucial role in the debt restructuring process, as Zambia has been grappling with a substantial debt burden. Despite a deal last year that addressed over $6 billion with bilateral lenders, the country still faces nearly $7 billion in unresolved debt. This remaining debt is owed to bond holders and commercial banks, presenting ongoing challenges for Zambia's economic stability. China's involvement has been pivotal, besides Mao Ning reiterating China's long-term perspective on assisting developing countries. And now for sports lovers, it is time for your most anticipated part of the news, the sports news. Let's get sporty. Junior starlets intensified their preparations on Monday, the 3rd of June, at Dandara Stadium ahead of the fourth and final round of the 2024 FIFA Under-17 World Cup two-legged qualifier against Burundi. They begin their first leg in Ethiopia on Sunday, June 9th, followed by the second leg at home on Sunday, June 16th. Junior starlets midfielder Halima Mbachi expressed her excitement and determination as the team looks to make history. Defender Rorin Ilavonga echoed these sentiments, emphasizing the significance of the upcoming matches. They are set to travel to Ethiopia on June 7th for the first leg of the qualifier on June 9th at the Abebe Bikila Stadium and will return to Kenya on June 10th to continue their preparation for the second leg, scheduled for June 16th. After the two legs, the winner of the tie aggregate will secure an automatic qualification to the 2024 FIFA Under-17 Women World Cup in October to be held in Dominican Republic.
Klabu yangu, so naona sasa mimi naona ita change life yangu na pia ita change life ya watu wengi sana. Kwangu mimi naona ita change life ya familia yangu, personal pia mimi ita change life yangu.
Hii ni chance watu wengi wametaka hawajapata, but mimi nimeipata na lazima niitumie, ni represent country yangu vizuri. Teammates wangu sasa kila mtu ako focused na hii game. azin ukiwapata wamekaa wanaongelelea tu hii game ya Burundi, na kitu na washua tunaenda kubeba na tunaenda.
Chelsea have appointed Leicester manager Enzo Maresca as their new boss on a 5-year contract with the option of an extra year. The Italian replaces Mauricio Pochettino, who left by mutual consent on the 21st of May after just one season at Stamford Bridge. Maresca's coaching staff at Leicester, including former Chelsea goalkeeper Willy Caballero, will work alongside him at Stamford Bridge. Here are the details.
Maresca replaces Mauricio Pochettino, who departed Stamford Bridge by mutual consent after guiding the Blues to a 6th-place Premier League finish in his only season in charge. Maresca, the 44-year-old Italian who guided Leicester City to the championship title last season, has signed a 5-year contract with a club option of a further year. Just weeks after guiding Leicester City back to the Premier League, the Italian has quit after one season and opted to take on what many see as a poised chalice. Maresca, who will begin his new role on July 1st, is Chelsea's 6th managerial appointment in 5 years and the 4th since American investor Todd Boehly and private equity firm Clear Lake Capital bought the club in May 2022. Chelsea endured a mixed 2023-2024 season but won their final 5 games to the end of the campaign in 6th and qualified for the Europa Conference League. The Blues also finished runners-up in the Carabao Cup and reached the semi-finals of the FA Cup. The Chelsea players not on international duty this summer are scheduled to return to the club for pre-season under Maresca on July 4th as they prepare for a tour of the United States. The 44-year-old Italian is believed to be a good fit for Chelsea's model, a highly data-driven and sports science approach in which the various departments at the club have input. Reporting for GBS TV, I am John Kinyanjui.
France forward Kylian Mbappe says it is a dream come true as his long-awaited move to Real Madrid was confirmed on Monday evening. Kylian Mbappe has signed a contract to join Real Madrid on a free transfer when his Paris Saint-Germain deal expires on the 30th of June. Here is more on the scene.
Kylian Mbappe, 25 years, has now signed terms with Real Madrid and will move to Spain when the La Liga transfer windows open on July 1st. Kylian Mbappe will move to Bernabeu Stadium on a 5-year deal when his Paris Saint-Germain contract expires on June 30th. He has agreed a deal with Real until 2029, earning 15 million euros a season plus a 150 million euros signing on bonus to be paid over 5 years. And he will keep a percentage of his image rights. He will join a Madrid side fresh from winning La Liga as they captured a record-extending 15th European crown in the Champions League. Mbappe's arrival in the Spanish capital is likely to prompt suggestion of a new Galacticos era at the club given the exciting prospect of him lining up alongside Brazil forwards Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo, fellow new signing Endrick, and England midfielder Jude Bellingham. He leaves the French capital as PSG's record goal scorer with 256 goals since he joined from Monaco on an initial loan in 2017. The forward scored 44 goals in 48 matches last term and has been the leading scorer in the French top flight for the past 6 years. At club level, he has won 7 Ligue 1 titles, the first of those with Monaco, the remaining 6 with PSG, and has collected 4 winners' medals in the French Cup. However, he is yet to triumph in the Champions League, something he will hope to rectify with a club that has made a habit of winning Europe's elite club competition. Reporting for GBS TV, I am John Kinyanjui.
Scotland's Robert McIntyre held off a host of challenges to win his first PGA Tour title at the RBC Canadian Open. McIntyre is the first Scottish player to win on the PGA Tour since Martin Laird on 2020, and victory secured his place at the US Open, which starts on 13th of June at the Pinehurst in North Carolina. And that sports news brings us to the end of our news segment tonight. Here at GBS News at 9, we make your news our business. My name is Beatrice Njeri. Our sign language interpreter is Paul Mathenge. Good night.